Take a quick pause. Did you know that over 90% of you watching haven't hit the subscribe button yet? If you're enjoying this video, take a second to subscribe and hit the like button. It helps us bring you more gripping stories every day. Also, we'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments so we can see how far our stories are reaching. Your support really keeps us going. Now, let's jump back into the video. The alarm buzzed at 5:30 a.m., just like it had for the past 11 years. I rolled over in bed, careful not to disturb Emily, and slapped at the clock until the noise died. For a few seconds, I just lay there, staring at the ceiling fan, spinning lazily above me. The house was still dark, still quiet, the briefest moments of peace before the chaos of the day began. My feet hit the cold hardwood, and I shuffled to the bathroom. Same old toothpaste, same dull razor, same mirror reflecting back the tired but determined man I'd become. By 6 o'clock, I was downstairs brewing coffee, the rich, bitter scent filling the kitchen. I liked these quiet moments, even if they sometimes felt lonely. Sometimes I'd catch a glimpse of family pictures lining the hallway. Emily smiling brightly, our daughter Mia perched on her hip, my arm thrown protectively around them both. It was those pictures that fueled me. Mia was 9 now, growing up faster than I could keep up with. She had her mother's bright blue eyes, the same mischievous laugh that filled the house when she chased our dog around the backyard. Being her dad was the greatest pride of my life. Being Emily's husband, too, at least. It had been. By 6:30, I was on the road, my old truck rumbling through the winding streets toward the company where I had poured more than a decade of my life. First one there, last one out. That's what they used to say about me. Hard work, loyalty, sacrifice. I believed in those things. I believed they mattered. It was a Thursday when everything changed. The day started like every other: coffee, traffic. A nod from the security guard as I pulled into the lot. I even whistled on my way up to the office, a habit I hadn't had in years. I had been putting in extra hours, working weekends, missing family dinners because the regional manager position was opening up, and everyone said it was mine. I deserved it. I sat at my desk, powering through emails, spreadsheets, call logs. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was steady, honest. By noon, my boss, Richard Whitman, called me into his office. I smiled, adjusting my tie, heart thudding in my chest. Maybe it was the promotion. Maybe he was finally going to say what everyone else had been hinting at for weeks. The moment I stepped inside, though, I knew something was wrong. Richard didn't meet my eyes. He sat behind his massive oak desk, drumming his fingers on the surface like he couldn't wait to get out of there. There was another man there, too, from HR, a stranger with sad, rehearsed eyes. I lowered myself into the chair, throat dry. "We're making some changes," Richard said, voice too casual. "Restructuring, downsizing." I blinked, the words struggling to register. "What are you saying?" He cleared his throat. "I'm afraid today is your last day, Andrew." Just like that, 11 years, thousands of late nights, sacrificed weekends, missed birthdays and anniversaries, and it all ended in a 15-minute meeting and a cold, impersonal severance packet. I didn't say much. I didn't trust myself to. I shook their hands out of some broken instinct of professionalism and walked out of the office with a box of my belongings clutched to my chest. As I passed the others in the hallway, they looked away. Whispers filled the air behind me, stinging like invisible arrows. By the time I reached my truck, my hands were shaking. I sat there for a long time, staring at the steering wheel, feeling like the ground beneath me had given way. How was I going to tell Emily? How was I going to tell Mia? I drove home slower than usual, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Bills, mortgage, school fees. Every responsibility felt like a new weight pressing down on me. When I pulled into the driveway, the house looked the same as always. Warm, inviting, normal. Inside, Emily was bustling around the kitchen. She smiled when she saw me, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "You're home early," she said, laughing. "What happened? Did you finally tell them you're tired of working yourself to death?" I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. Something like that. I sat her down and told her everything. Every word felt like a blade carving deeper into my pride. Emily listened, her expression unreadable. nodding occasionally, but saying very little. When I was done, she kissed my forehead and said, "We'll figure it out. Don't worry." But something about the way she said it, something in her eyes, it gnawed at me. That night, as I lay awake beside her, listening to the even rhythm of her breathing, I stared up at the dark ceiling and wondered why my gut felt twisted in knots. Over the next few days, things shifted in the house. At first, Emily was supportive, almost too supportive. She insisted I take some time for myself, that I deserved a break after all these years. She encouraged me to rest, to spend time with Mia, to find myself again. But I noticed small things. She started coming home later from work. She spent more time texting in the other room, her phone glued to her side like it was a part of her. She was distracted around me, distant. Mia noticed too, frowning when Emily forgot to pick her up from dance class one evening. I tried to shake the feeling, tried to tell myself it was just stress, just the pressure getting to all of us. But then one afternoon, after Emily left for work, I found her laptop open on the kitchen table. Not snooping, just cleaning up, I told myself. But then a message popped up on the screen. It was from Richard Whitman. "I miss you already. Last night was incredible. Can't wait to see you again. Love you." My stomach dropped. My hands went cold. I clicked on the message thread before I could stop myself. There were dozens of them, weeks worth. Photos too, nothing graphic, but intimate enough to leave no room for doubt. Richard, my boss, the man who had sat across from me and fired me like I was nothing, had been sleeping with my wife. The room spun. I had to sit down, head in my hands, breathing hard like I'd been punched in the gut. And then I saw something else, something even worse. A message from months ago. "Are you sure Mia's mine?" "Sometimes I wonder." And Emily's reply, "Of course she is. But even if she wasn't, I love you. You're the one I want." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Mia, the little girl I had raised, loved with all my heart, she might not even be mine? Tears stung my eyes, but I blinked them away. Rage, thick and black, rose up in my chest. I closed the laptop carefully, sat there for a long time, staring into nothing. The betrayal was too big to process all at once. It was like watching a beautiful painting, one I had spent my whole life admiring, suddenly burst into flames. Emily came home late that night, humming to herself as she tossed her purse onto the counter. She kissed me on the cheek the same way she always did, completely unaware that everything had changed. I played along. I smiled. I hugged her. I tucked Mia into bed. I whispered goodnight like nothing was wrong, but inside something had shattered. The next morning, after Emily left for work, I made some calls. First, to a divorce attorney. Second, to a private investigator who specialized in paternity tests. I was going to find out the truth. I was going to take everything from them the way they took everything from me. And this time, I wasn't going to be the one left holding the broken pieces. The days that followed blurred together into a quiet, simmering storm. On the surface, life continued as if nothing had changed. I drove Mia to school, I made dinner, I mowed the lawn. I played the part of the devoted husband because I had to. Because to act otherwise would tip my hand too soon. But beneath the surface, I was a man dismantling his own world piece by piece. Every evening after Emily fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table sorting through documents, copying files, gathering proof. The private investigator worked fast. 2 days after I hired him, he handed me a thick manila envelope filled with printed screenshots, call logs, GPS locations, and bank transactions. Richard and Emily weren't even being careful. They had rented hotel rooms in the next town over, charged dinners to credit cards we both used, spent weekends together when Emily claimed she was visiting her sister. The betrayal grew larger and more grotesque with every page I turned. Still, the part that haunted me most was the uncertainty about Mia. Every time I tucked her in, every time she laughed at one of my terrible jokes or curled up beside me on the couch, I felt a stab of guilt. Was I loving another man's child? Did it even matter? I told myself it didn't. I told myself I would love Mia no matter what the DNA said. But the doubt ate at me. The paternity test required stealth. I couldn't ask Emily, not yet. Instead, one afternoon while Mia napped after a school field trip, I carefully took a few stray hairs from her hairbrush, sealed them in a sterile envelope, and handed them off to the investigator. A few days later, the results came back. I stood in the driveway when I opened the envelope, heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. The letter was short, clinical, unemotional. Probability of paternity, 0%. I crumpled to the ground right there, gravel digging into my knees, the paper falling from my fingers like ash. Mia wasn't mine, not biologically, but in my heart, she was still my daughter. That wouldn't change. I wiped my eyes roughly and gathered the papers, shoving them back into the envelope. I wouldn't let them take her from me, too. That night, as I watched Mia color at the dining table, her brow furrowed in concentration, I realized that my war wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about protecting her. Emily came home late again that evening, her face flushed, smelling faintly of a cologne I didn't wear. She kissed me lightly on the cheek, her eyes darting toward Mia as if checking to see if she was watching. "Long day?" I asked, my voice steady. She shrugged, tossing her purse onto the couch. "You know how it is." I nodded, pretending I did. Pretending I didn't know about the hotel receipt folded neatly into my back pocket. Time-stamped 2 hours ago. Dinner that night was awkward. Emily kept checking her phone, tapping her foot under the table. Mia chatted happily about school projects and art contests, oblivious to the tension crackling between her parents like dry lightning. After Mia went to bed, Emily sat on the couch scrolling through her phone. I sat across from her, studying her, the way her mouth twitched into a secret smile when she read a message, the way she angled the screen away from me. How had I been so blind? I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip the mask off and confront her, demand the truth. But I held back. Timing was everything now. If I moved too soon, she would hide evidence, twist the story, paint herself as the victim. I needed her to think I was still the clueless fool she married. The next day, I met with a divorce attorney. Her office was small, tucked between a barber shop and a bakery. She wore smart glasses and a sharp black suit, and she wasted no time. "You've done your homework," she said, flipping through the thick folder of evidence I had provided. "This will work heavily in your favor." I nodded, feeling a grim satisfaction. "I don't just want a divorce," I said. "I want custody of Mia. I want to make sure Emily and Richard pay for what they did." The lawyer smiled thinly. "We'll build the case carefully, no sudden moves. We'll file when she least expects it." Leaving the office that day, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Not good, never good, but purposeful, focused. I spent more time with Mia after that, savoring every moment. We went to the park, painted messy pictures in the garage, baked cookies that ended up burnt and stuck to the pan. She didn't know it, but she was saving me. At night, I'd lay awake planning every move, every word of the confrontation that was coming. And it was coming. One evening, Emily came home earlier than usual. She was jittery, pacing the kitchen, fidgeting with her necklace. "We need to talk," she said, voice tight. I set down the book I had been pretending to read. "Okay." She wrung her hands. "Richard offered me a promotion in another city." My stomach turned, but I kept my face neutral. "Another city?" "Yeah, it's a really great opportunity for both of us." Both of us. As if she thought I'd just pack up and follow her after everything. "When would you move?" I asked carefully. "Maybe next month. I could go ahead, get settled. You and Mia could join me once things are set up." She wasn't even hiding it anymore. She wanted to separate me from Mia. She wanted to build a new life with Richard. I nodded slowly. "I'll think about it." She smiled in relief, coming around the table to hug me. I hugged her back, hiding the rage boiling under my skin. Later that night, I sat alone in the living room after everyone had gone to bed. The house was dark, except for the faint glow of the streetlight outside. I stared at the family photos lining the mantel. We had been so happy once. Or maybe I had just been too blind to see the cracks forming underneath. I thought about the vows we had exchanged, the promises we made. I thought about every lie she had told, every moment she had spent in another man's arms. And I thought about Mia, the little girl who didn't deserve any of this. I wasn't going to let them steal her from me, no matter what it took. The next morning, while Emily showered, I searched her purse. I found exactly what I was looking for. A small hotel keycard tucked behind her wallet, a room number scribbled on the back. I copied the number, tucked everything back neatly, and stepped into the hallway just as she emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in a towel. She smiled at me, oblivious. I smiled back. 2 nights later, after she left for her business meeting, I followed her. I parked across the street from the hotel, heart hammering in my chest, and waited. I saw her arrive, saw Richard step out of a sleek black car and greet her with a kiss that lasted far too long, saw them disappear together inside. I took photos, more evidence, more nails in the coffin of the life they tried to build on top of my ruin. When I got home that night, I sat at the kitchen table with the photos spread out before me. The last pieces of the puzzle. It was time. The next morning, I called my lawyer. File the papers, I said I want her served at work. And tell the PI to deliver the photos to Richard's wife, too. If they thought they could build happiness on betrayal, they were about to learn just how wrong they were. And I wasn't done yet. Not even close. The day the divorce papers were served was colder than usual, even though spring was technically around the corner. I stood by the kitchen window sipping black coffee, watching the clouds roll thick and gray across the sky. There was something fitting about it, I thought. The storm brewing both inside me and out there. Emily had left early for work, promising to pick Mia up from school later. She kissed my cheek before she left as if nothing were wrong, as if she weren't about to have her world ripped apart. I didn't feel guilty. Not anymore. By noon, the text from my lawyer came through. It's done. I imagined the scene in my head. Emily sitting at her desk, cheerful, tapping away at her keyboard. Then the knock at the door. The manila envelope. Her face paling as she read through the cold legal language that spelled out the end of our marriage. She didn't come home that night. I didn't expect her to. Instead, I focused on Mia, helping her with her math homework, making her favorite spaghetti for dinner, reading her a story before bed. She was my anchor now, my reason for holding steady while the storm tried to pull me under. Around midnight, I heard the car pull into the driveway. I stayed where I was, sitting at the dining table, the divorce papers spread out before me like a battlefield map. The front door creaked open. Emily stepped inside, soaked from the rain, her hair clinging to her face. "You served me at work," she said flatly, dropping her purse on the floor. I looked up at her slowly, letting the silence stretch between us like a drawn bowstring. "What did you expect?" I asked finally. "A thank you card?" Her eyes flashed with anger. "You blindsided me." I laughed, cold and humorless. "No, Emily, you blindsided me. I gave you everything, years of loyalty, hard work, love, and you threw it all away for him." She crossed her arms, defensive. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," I cut her off, standing now, feeling the blood rush to my head. "You were sleeping with my boss while I was losing sleep trying to provide for this family. You lied to me. You lied about Mia." Her face crumpled slightly at the mention of Mia. "I never wanted to hurt you." "You didn't just hurt me," I said, voice shaking. "You destroyed everything we built." The air between us crackled, thick with all the words we had never said, all the betrayals that could never be undone. "I'm still Mia's mother," she said quietly. "And I'm still her father," I said, stepping closer. "Biology doesn't change that." Tears welled in her eyes, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no pity, only the cold, hard resolve that had kept me alive these past few weeks. "You're not taking her from me," I said. "You and Richard can rot in whatever miserable life you build together, but Mia stays with me." Emily shook her head, a tear sliding down her cheek. "It's not that simple." "It is," I said. "I have the evidence, the proof of your affair. The proof that you endangered her well-being by dragging her into your lies. You'll lose in court, Emily, and you know it." She sagged against the wall, defeated. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the hotel receipts, the messages, the nights I sat alone, wondering why I wasn't good enough. I turned away, unable to look at her any longer. You should go. She hesitated, like she wanted to argue, but then thought better of it. She picked up her purse with trembling hands and left without another word. The door slammed shut behind her. I locked it. The days that followed were a strange mix of liberation and devastation. Emily tried to fight at first, through angry texts, desperate phone calls, tearful voicemails. But the more she flailed, the more obvious her guilt became. In court, my lawyer presented the paternity test, the hotel receipts, the photos. Emily's lawyer tried to argue that her actions didn't impact her parenting, but the judge wasn't buying it. The day the custody ruling came down, I sat in the courthouse holding my breath. The judge looked at Emily first. Given the evidence presented and in the best interest of the child, I am awarding primary custody to Mr. Carter. It was over. I almost didn't hear the rest of what the judge said. Relief washed over me, so intense I thought I might collapse right there in the courtroom. Mia was mine. No matter what Emily had done, no matter whose blood ran through her veins, she was my daughter. Emily cried as the judge spoke, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Richard wasn't there. He had disappeared the moment his wife received the envelope of photographs from my investigator. Last I heard, he was facing his own divorce proceedings. Poetic justice. After court, Emily approached me in the hallway, her hands shaking. "Can I still see her?" she asked, voice small. I studied her for a long moment. I could have said no. I could have used my power to crush her completely. But I thought about Mia, about how much she loved her mother despite everything. "You'll have supervised visitation," I said finally. "For now." Emily nodded, tears slipping down her face. I turned and walked away without another word. The months after the divorce were hard. There were nights I sat alone after Mia had gone to bed, staring into the darkness, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. But there were good moments, too. Moments that made it all worth it. Mia's laughter echoing through the house, her arms wrapped around my neck in a hug, her sleepy voice whispering, "I love you, Daddy." Those were the moments that healed me. Slowly, steadily. I found work again eventually, not in a big company like before, but in a small startup where my loyalty and hard work were appreciated. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest, and it was enough. One evening, months later, as I watched Mia chase fireflies in the backyard, I realized something. They hadn't beaten me. Emily and Richard had tried to tear my life apart, but they had underestimated me. They thought betrayal would break me. Instead, it had forged me into something stronger, smarter, more ruthless when I needed to be. I wasn't the same man who had kissed his wife goodbye each morning, oblivious to the knife she was burying in his bag. I was someone new, someone who knew the value of loyalty and the price of betrayal. And I would never forget that lesson. Not ever. As Mia ran up to me, fireflies cupped in her small hands, laughing breathlessly, I scooped her into my arms and held her close, feeling her heartbeat against mine. She was my daughter. She always would be. No matter what the past had taken from me, it could never take that. And as for revenge, sometimes the best revenge is simply surviving, living well, and never, ever letting them see you broken. I looked up at the night sky. The stars scattered like shattered glass, and for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to smile. We were going to be just fine. Better than fine. We were going to rise. Together. Always.